I'm Dan Brown from Sort of Interesting, and for most of the last decade I've lived on board boats on the UK's inland waterways. In a break from some of my more recent short film style episodes, today I'd like to share something that may be more insightful to the experience of actually living in a tiny home, and that's going to be a discussion of what I think would be my ideal narrowboat layout and why I would choose it to be that way. So hopefully it will be some food for thought for people out there looking into boat life or just curious. This is my humble narrowboat home, Abel's Ark. She's 45 feet long and has a reverse layout, which means the bedroom is actually at the front of the boat, whereas a lot of boats will have the bedroom at the stern. So I'll give you the rough dimensions in feet here. So we've got the open stern area here, which is roughly 7 feet, so it's not the worst amount of space that you could have stuck outside, and it's not the most efficient use of space in my opinion, but we can live with that. Then moving into the boat, we go down a little couple of steps there, and then we're entering into the kitchen, which takes up about that sort of area, just over 6.5 foot, but that's plenty of room to get a little fridge, a little oven, your sink and things like that, so that's all good. Then the next area, at just over 9 feet long, is the living room area. So again, plenty of space, got my wood burner in there, it's all lovely. Then next along, at roughly 5.5 feet, we have got our bathroom area, and moving on from that, the last internal area of the boat is the bedroom, which takes up just under 9 feet. Then finally finishing off our exterior tour, we've got just over 7 foot of the boat, which is outdoors, making up this bow area. Firstly, I think the size 45 foot is actually a very good size for an individual boater, as it's got plenty of room for one person. It also is a lot easier to handle than some of the bigger boats if you're a solo boater travelling, going through locks or mooring up on your own in different weather conditions. And it also keeps some of the costs down that can be charged on a per foot basis, such as a boat licence or mooring fees. And somebody that I know who lives alone on a much bigger boat than mine was actually asking me about the size, as they wanted to downsize from theirs, and described themselves as feeling like the last baked bean in the tin, paying out for the extra length of boat that they simply don't have a use for. Looking at the bow of my boat, you'll see that I no longer have the front cover on, as I use this simply as storage and like to have that ease of access to just step on and off. And it's easy to imagine the romantic sitting out on the seating beneath the cover with something to drink and a sandwich on a summer's day, but realistically those days of boat life are outnumbered very often by the wet, overcast and grey days. And when you're waking up to find that front cover area covered in ice, you're highly unlikely to think that your little picnic table out there is the best use for that space. So as nice as it is, and if you've got a bigger boat and are a couple, it can be lovely, but to me it's far better to be used as a place to put 10 bags of coal than it is for one table for 10 days a year. But what would I change with the interior? Well, embarrassingly enough for me, as you can see, my initial idea for this part of the video was that I was going to mime out the actions of what I would change, and then, well, talk over it, and it was all going to make a wonderful comedy scene. Instead, my actions made absolutely no sense, even with the commentary. So let's reshoot this. So here we are at night time, and what I would do in the kitchen area is move the fire further in towards the middle of the boat, I mean, when I say that, keep it against the wall but closer to the centre of the boat for reasons that will become clear soon. And I would then take the oven and put that in an extended worktop at normal worktop height where the fireplace currently is. I'd remove the little area of worktop that's right in the centre of the width of the boat there, and the reason the oven is so high at the moment is because it's sat above a miniature fridge. So I'd have the top of the fridge made into a worktop so we wouldn't lose any worktop space, and we'd have the oven at a sensible worktop height. Apart from that though, I wouldn't really change much around the kitchen. Hold on to your hats folks, it's about to get controversial here. So my big plan would be to take the bathroom from the centre of the boat, which is what causes that little alleyway from the living room into the bedroom, and push the bathroom right up to the very far end of the boat. And if we head into the bathroom now with a wide angle lens, you'll see that it's actually a really efficiently put together room. We've got the shower, we've got a built-in pump out toilet that I don't use, and I just like to use my simple cassette style toilets. So obviously I would ditch the pump out, which also means ditching the storage tank that also entails. Lovely stuff, I'm sure. And what I would do in moving this room up to the front of the boat, I would take that far wall with the window, flip the room 90 degrees so that that wall with the window was effectively now up against the very front, the very bow of the boat, with the doorway facing back down into what would be now a huge open plan area of a 9-foot bedroom, a 9-foot living room, and a largely open plan kitchen, all as one mega room. This new larger space would allow me to put the fire in a more central location on the boat, as mentioned earlier, and you would not believe just how much heat these things can throw out. I've talked about it in a previous video, but when I've been on board with multiple people, or when I've been on other people's boats, and you end up sat close to the fire, it can get very uncomfortable. And that's actually one of the benefits I've got by creating my simple folding table design I currently have on board the boat, that if there's multiple people here, I can fold the table down and we can all get a little bit further away from the fireplace, as it's genuinely far too hot on this boat, at least, than it is too cold. And if we look back from roughly where I imagine the new fireplace would be in this theoretical central location, we'll just zoom in there. I love this little clip. I thought I'll show you the full thing here of just the hedge cutter going along the canal bank there. But just imagine being stood here and still having an entire bedroom's worth of space behind you. Some people might want to have a little folding screen or a ceiling hung blind or something like that to fold down. Personally, I'd love it completely open. Well, this is embarrassing, my friends. I've just rewatched this video a few hours before it's due to go live and discovered that a key piece of footage is missing from this section, which was meant to be me walking around the boat pointing things out that would have been better with a large single open planned room. So I'm currently recording this sat in my car, so I do apologise if the audio's terrible, but some of those benefits of the big open plan would have been the following. Firstly, you'd have far more freedom to arrange your freestanding furniture in a space-efficient way. Instead of having little bits of storage separated, you could have it all clumped together rather than, oh, this is a bit here in the bedroom, this is a bit here in the living room, etc, etc. Also, I would be able to make sure that the bed wasn't by any doors or things that might be drafty or lead to any chilly breezes rolling in through the night. Right, I've just consulted my notes again and I'm back to finish this little disaster audio edition. So, one of the big benefits over my current layout, I think, would be that having the fireplace in a central location may mean that one big room is heated unevenly, but it would be far easier to regulate the temperature than it is with the little alleyway that the bathroom creates, almost creating a strange sort of blockage, a strange hold-up point for the heat radiating down into the bedroom. So I don't think I'd need to use as much fuel to pump the heat out into the living room overnight, so that it would then drift down to where the bedroom is, almost like around a little corner of the bathroom. And finally, a little addition here, I would be really tempted with a single room open plan layout to find a nice location to have a little hatch and a little set of fold down stairs on the side, as I think that you could, if you've got the space so that it's not just taking up wall space, that if it's in the bedroom or wherever, you could otherwise have your wardrobe there or something of that nature that might be a little more useful. I think that there's real potential to have it as a really nice little feature somewhere. I may well have made this video go awkward all of a sudden by addressing you directly to the camera out of the blue, but I want to say something here that might actually be the most significant thing in this video, and that is that, well, it's fun to contemplate the changes I'd make to this boat, or for other people to be looking in at boats and thinking, oh, let's design our own from scratch, but the most significant things very often I've found in my years of living on boats that have improved my life or made significant changes to my comfort and quality of day-to-day experience in a tiny home are the things that are often very difficult to imagine until you're living the lifestyle and you're seeing the seasons pass, or waking up and going to sleep in a small home. And that can be the most tiny, ludicrous, almost pathetic seeming things. A good example of something that will seem almost like I'm joking here, but it took me 2 years to realise I could keep my cutlery in a simple little basket like this, taking up no meaningful space on the corner of the kitchen worktop, instead of having it all taking up the majority of the space in my one single kitchen drawer. And now I've got the full kitchen drawer to keep sensible stuff in. And again, something as tiny as that. Similarly, it wasn't until I'd emptied the boat to move off it, and then decided to move back on, this is what I do, that I thought, hang on, why don't I put a folding desk here instead of having a fixed desk? And that way, as I say, depending on who's on the boat or what's going on, I can fold it down in less than 10 seconds and then have a much more open space here. And again, in those winter months, I can keep everybody a little bit further away from the wild heat that the fire's pumping out. So tiny little things like that that you don't really realise and think until you're experiencing life in a small area. Thank you so much for tuning in, my friends. I'd like to give a quick shout out to my PayPal supporters and channel members. So a huge thank you to the following, as we are keeping quiet while Charlie snores: Chris Cole, Vic Smith, Mr. Quiet U 112, Rory 58, Darren C, Glenn F and Peter R. Thank you so much for the support, it really does mean a lot. And until the next time, my friends, I'm simply gonna wrap things up and say I hope you've enjoyed what you've seen, and I hope you'll enjoy what I've got up my sleeve for the next outing. See ya!